Okay, so with my open stage kaput and not having found a new home for to start a new one yet, I've been kind of hitting some of the other open stages in town here in Portland and kind of scouting the scene and seeing what's going on. And I figured I'd sort of share my first impressions of some of these places that I check out with you. So I'm not intending this to be catty for sure. I'm not intending this to be some sort of complicated rating system, and these are just my thoughts, and I am who I am. I'm a very experienced open stage host. I'm a very experienced player, and I'm someone who has loved playing open stages for, you know, 35 years. So you can take this with a grain of salt. And also, I'm very biased towards being like a singer-songwriter kind of performer. Um, that said, I'll give you some quick takes as best I can on some of the places I play. Tonight I went to Craft Factory. Craft Factory's on North Williams. It is Monday nights. Sign up is sort of loosely starts at 6:30, and then the open stage starts at 7, runs till about 9. I think is the latest that it would run. So as of January 2023, it is active. Um, so the space itself is like a crafting studio. It's a very nice, warm, beautiful room. Like, I don't know, 15, 16 foot ceilings, like big atrium style ceilings, hardwood floors, very nice acoustic space to play in. It's not your traditional venue. So this is not a stepping stone, for instance, or I don't get the sense this is a stepping stone. I don't think that by virtue of playing this open stage, a gig will follow. And I think the hours of the venue sort of bear that out, that Monday is really the only night that they're open late, as far as I could see on their website. I could be wrong about that, but anyway, I could be wrong about everything. Sound system and gear and sound quality. So they have a simple but very adequate sound system. Typical kind of like 6-channel Behringer board or something like that, running a single powered speaker, but a big, powerful powered speaker. Very clear sound. If simple, like there's no monitors, but that was not really necessary. Like you hear plenty of ambient sound just bouncing around in that room, and so you're going to hear your blend regardless of whether or not it's projecting up at you from the floor. They did have a very simple house guitar when I was there, and they also had a very simple house keyboard, which is a little bit unusual. Kind of, if there's an extra for this space, it would be that they have a house keyboard, and also they are all ages, which is a little tough to find. So tonight, the sound was run by one of the other players, a musician. A musician, Annie Wilder, who was there to play, who I don't think is really one of the hosts, but it sounds like she's maybe a regular. I probably shouldn't name her, except, you should check her out. She had a great song. She had a great voice, great songs. And a song that stuck out to me was a song called Honey. You can only hear it on her Instagram, but give it a listen. I was impressed with her. I thought she was very good in the moment, and a very nuanced kind of performer and someone worth watching. She also did a good job of getting, a nice, solid musician sound. Something that, a musician who knows how to work a mic can definitely do something with it. She took full advantage of that, and I took advantage of that. So one thing I'll say, which is kind of not exactly a criticism, but it's kind of an observation, because it's not your problem if you're showing up to perform. It's something that I wouldn't choose to do as a host, which is the microphone choice. So it's kind of a blessing and a curse. They had a large diaphragm mic, very sensitive mic. there as the one and only house mic. And in my opinion, that's not a good choice because in general, that is too sensitive a mic for a live application. In the hands of somebody who really has a sophisticated mic technique or is very experienced, or certainly has been in a studio and kind of knows, okay, well, this is how I would play a mic like that. So, like, I had a great time with that mic. I had a very rich sound. I was playing the distance. I knew what to do. I knew how to like really get my breath into the picture. And so did this other player, Annie. But as a host, I would never choose to use that kind of mic for a couple reasons. First, being that for amateur musicians, that is too much microphone, and it can become kind of a burden, difficult for them to use, and counterintuitive in some ways. Like, if you are really right up on that, you are going to get way too much, and you can overwhelm it, and you can start to sound bad. Your signal can start to break up. You can invite feedback. It's just in my experience, you want something a little more forgiving, something that's nice and clear, but also which can perform, can get the job done equally well for someone who really has no mic technique and might just eat the mic the whole time or be too far from it the whole time, as well as to get the job done for someone like me who's been on stage 1,000 times and really knows what they're doing when they get up there. The second reason is that a mic that sensitive, like I alluded to, invites feedback. It can hear itself very easily, especially if you boost the gain a little bit because someone is way off the mic and being kind of quiet. And a critique or an observation that I had is that in this particular case, the sound system was not set up optimally. And I mentioned it. I felt a little bit weird mentioning it because it's kind of like not my place. But I got the sense and kind of misread. I probably misread the situation and ended up being like, mansplaining at the very least, which I was definitely guilty of doing that. I certainly didn't intend to. I thought I was being helpful, and I could see that my suggestion was not welcome. But my suggestion had to do with, here's the mic right in front of me, and the speaker, the one and only speaker, is where that dark guitar over my shoulder is. That is the worst possible position to put a sensitive mic and a speaker in conjunction with each other. It's basically just asking for it to hear itself. That speaker definitely needed to be further off axis, maybe even a little further forward. We did not need to use that speaker as a monitor per se, because I think I mentioned that this beautiful acoustic space is really just full of sound. We could take advantage of that. We didn't need to have monitors, didn't need to have it speaking up at us, didn't need to have it behind us to hear your blend. You would hear your blend in the room. So that's a little quibble, and what it is to me is it's a shibboleth that the hosting situation is a little bit inexperienced with the gear. And there were other signs that was the case, that the host was very nice, very warming and very warm and welcoming. But I don't know if that host would have been able to pull off really running the sound had it not been for the musician who was helping out. So I don't know. I didn't get the sense that host really was as familiar with like musician sound. And that's been a problem at some other open stages I've been to as well. I don't know that for sure, and I don't know if that's the regular host, because it's not the host who's named on the website. Somebody else. Like I said, as far as like being warm, welcoming, friendly, great job. Like, I think everyone had a great time. As far as being like technically adept, the jury's still out on that, and the setup setup gives me concern. Okay, so I think I've said too much and run out of things to say all at once. But so I think this stage is optimal for singer-songwriter. Probably not really band friendly per se, but certainly in a sort of an unplugged or acoustic situation. They don't have a lot of house mics, so if you have more than one, you need to bring your own mic, your own secondary mics, and probably your own secondary mic stands. Similarly, it wouldn't hurt to bring an instrument cable because I think they just had one. If you want to play the keyboard, um, they were just running it without running it through the sound system. You might want to bring an instrument cable and ask to put it through. It's not a professional grade keyboard, but it certainly works. And some people did play it, and it sounded decent. The piano sound sounded decent. Certainly not pro, but decent. So a good consumer grade keyboard, but it's better than nothing. And they've got a keyboard stand if you want to bring your own keyboard. As far as extras, I mean that's really what I would say is the extras are is it's the keyboard. It's not a stepping stone gig. Sound was pretty good. The room sounds great. Um, I'd like to see the time management run a little differently because this was like a slow night, and the generous version of that was that I got 4 total songs, which is like where generous starts in my view. With only 3 performers, we should have heard a whole lot more of Annie. We should have probably heard a little bit more of me. It should have been a little more loose as far as like 5 or 6 songs, I think. But that's a quibble. Again, all right. This is a real sloppy job of reviewing this one, but it's complete. And so that's Craft Factory. I think overall it's worth checking out. If you're a singer-songwriter and you want to get some nice sound in a new space, just to like try out some songs in a friendly place, check it out.